There's been no question for the last several years, the leader as far as shot shell innovation has been Federal. Now, I used these Federal hybrids last year, and for a conventional lead load, they're excellent. And they're also fairly economical as well. So these are number 5 shot, 1330 feet per second, 2 3/4 inch. I'm going to take a shot at a laser verified 40 yards. We've got some fresh paper set up, and I'm going to compare these to the new Federal TSS long range duck loads, which you can also use for pheasants. So, just a modified choke, using my favorite pheasant gun, which happens to be a 6 3/4 pound Fabarm L4S. Really, this is the gray hunter. If you get the black hunter, known in the United States as the initial hunter, it's one of the best bargains out there for a high quality gas operated shotgun. Easy to carry, easy to shoulder. It's my favorite. It's a sweet handling gun. For upland, meaning anything you're going to use a 12 gauge for, certainly flushing game. Although if you go back long enough, the number 1 upland game animal was rabbit. But times have changed. We're about just over a week away from pheasant opener here, and sounds like a great population. We've got pheasants running all over the place in all kinds of cover, a lot of standing corn, so it might be challenging the first couple weeks. We'll find out, but there's a lot of birds in the area, a lot of roosters, no question. Anyway, let's take a shot and see what a number 5, Exus number 5, roughly a modified choke, does out of this Fabarm with Federal Hybrid, 1 1/4 ounce, number 5. All right, I'll zoom in. Pellets hitting white paper isn't very visually exciting, so we've got a shoot and see right there in the center, which should show a few pellet hits. Okay, that's a laser verified 40 yards. And we'll go up and analyze the paper, take a few stills, and then we'll try it again with the TSS blended loads. Okay, I think that's a very respectable pattern at 40 yards. The kill zone on a pheasant depends on the orientation of the bird, whether they're flying away from you or an angling shot. If they're broadside, then you've got all kinds of real estate. We're only talking about 1 pellet in the right place to kill a pheasant, but generally speaking, you want 3 to 4 pellets in the torso. So this is at 40 yards. You can certainly tighten things up a lot from this if you anticipate 50-yard shots. But the number 5 Exus choke on the Fabarm L4S has just been a good all-around choke. Certainly good to 45 yards. Ideal really anywhere from, let's say anything past 30 to 45 yards plus with the right shell. So it did a great job last year, and you can see why. It's more than you need to get a pheasant dead in the air. This is the latest and greatest from Federal Black Cloud TSS. It's a 3-inch shell, but it's 1 1/4 ounce. It's considered no tox and a little peppy at 1450 feet per second muzzle velocity. It's a blended shell, 3 and 9, so you've got number 3 steel along with number 9 tungsten super shot. 60% by weight, I believe, tungsten super shot. So normally I'm not a fan of blended loads, but this is number 3 steel, number 9 tungsten super shot. Number 9 tungsten super shot gives better penetration, better downrange performance than number 5 lead. So what we're talking about here is a load that is superior to even the best buffered lead loads. So let's see how it does. If you went completely with tungsten super shot, they would be a lot more expensive, and it might be what you want for a turkey load, but not for pheasants, although pheasant hunting is certainly not high volume shooting. 2 wild birds a day and you're done. So if you go through 30-40 shots a season around here, you've got a nicely filled freezer, and you've had a great season. So let's see what using the same gun, the same choke, Fabarm L4S with number 5 X's choke, which is roughly a modified. Now with Fabarm chokes, you can go all the way up to a 10/10, and you can shoot steel approved for everything, all the way up until the tightest constriction that they make. So let's see how it does. So we're still at a laser verified 40 yards. And this is purported to be a good mallard whacker past 50 yards. Perfectly suitable for roosters as well. You can see it put more pellets on the paper. We'll go down and take a closer look. A little noisier, a little more recoil. That's what the extra velocity does for you. But when a rooster cackles and you've got hunting gear on, you'll never feel it. And the Fabarm, gas operated, it's a pleasant gun to shoot, period. Well, there is no question that that is a tighter pattern. No question about it at all. You can certainly tell the difference between the little dinky holes right here, which should be the number 9. You can see it even more so on the paper, I believe. Number 9 tungsten super shot versus the number 3 flight stopper steel. The flight stopper steel, it has the little rings of Saturn. They don't make round holes. They cut. So, beautifully performing loads. They make it in 2 flavors. You've got the 3 and 9s for mallards or pheasants, and the second type is BB and 7, same load, same velocity for geese. So an excellent long-range duck load, excellent long-range goose load if you go with the larger shot combination. And right here, this is an excellent long-range pheasant load. Now, certainly if you want to do a professional job at patterning, 1 shot doesn't mean much. Ideally, you're going to take 10 shots and count pellets. You can do it quicker with target telemetrics paper and just take pictures of the target, or count them manually. 10 shots will give you a far more accurate representation. 1 shot doesn't mean much. Just gives you a general idea. So we used the Federal lead, the Federal tungsten super shot, Black Cloud flight stopper combo, which is excellent. And for the last little quick look, we're using Kent. This is Kent Bismuth waterfowl. It's a heavy payload. It's 1.5 ounces of number 3. Now, bismuth is certainly not nearly as good as lead, but it's a lot better than steel. So, if you want equivalent performance, velocity changes the metric a little bit, but equivalent performance of number 5 lead, you really need to go 3 sizes larger. So you're talking about number 2 steel for equivalent penetration downrange. Bismuth, the equivalent of number 5 lead, is number 3. So you're going to cripple a lot of birds if you go with number 5 bismuth, except for very, very short range, perhaps preserve hunting or something like that, but I would never use that for wild birds. So number 3 bismuth is ideal. That's very, very close to number 5 lead. Bismuth is good. Bismuth is a lot better than steel. It's denser than steel. Its only problem, and it's been a long-standing problem, is that it's brittle, so it fractures easily. Now, they've improved it. Kent's improved it. Other people have too, by adding tin. So you get up to 5-6% tin. Bismuth tends to stay together a lot better, but it still tends to fracture, and when it fractures, you lose your penetration. You've got just little tiny splattery pellets going into the flesh. Shooting a ballistic gelatin is interesting, but it really doesn't have 100% to do with the pheasant, because with a pheasant, if he's dead in the air, great. But all you have to do, break a wing, break a leg, he's not going anywhere, and it's just pick him up. So if you want 100% game recovery, it's break a wing, break a leg. If you've got a pattern sufficient to do that, he's probably going to be dead in the air anyway. But if the magic BB doesn't hit him in the neck or head, or the spine, you certainly want him anchored, because the whole idea is to not go hungry and pick up everything that you shoot at and eat it. So we'll see what the bismuth does. Same range, same Fabarm L4S, heavier payload though, so it should kick. So we'll zoom in a little bit. Little bit more. Same laser verified 40 yards. You can certainly feel the difference, 1.5 ounces versus 1.25 ounces, no question about it. Of course, I don't have any heavy hunting gear on. So, let's go down and take a little closer look at things. That was the Kent Bismuth, 1.5 ounces, number 3. So here's a look at our Kent Bismuth number 3. You can see that this is a far, far more open pattern than either the lead or the Federal Tungsten Super Shot. That is a wide open pattern. And in this case, the wad from our Kent Bismuth load went clear through the target, clear through the board. So I guess you could kill a pheasant with the wad in this case. Anyway, that's a lot of pellets there, but that's an open pattern even though we're using the same identical choke. So another thing you might want to consider, all guns are different, chokes vary as well, but certainly if I was going to use these loads or other bismuth loads, I would go up at least half a notch as far as choke constriction, because this is just too open for my taste. So if you're accustomed to a modified with a really good lead load, you're going to want improved modified or even a light full with bismuth, because bismuth does tend to pattern more openly, at least that's as far as my experience goes. So this had the heaviest payload, the most recoil, but not close to the best pattern. But that's the advantage of adjustable chokes, is you're going to need more constriction to get a usable pattern at 40 yards, certainly anything past 40 yards. So that is a very brief comparison in terms of pattern quality. There's no question in my mind, not based only on today, but other examples. The Federal 3.9 Tungsten Supershot Black Cloud blend is the best. That is the best no-tox load I've seen, but lead is as good as ever. So, I mean, there's no issue using lead on private property in Illinois, so I'll be using lead. Hard to beat lead in general. But tungsten supershot stuff is actually better, and it gives you more range, no question about that. It's ballistically superior, but a lot more pricey, so the choice is yours.